All right, so we all know that scrub that spends most of his time indoors playing video games, beating off all day, and he does not go outside and get sunlight. He doesn't go to the park for a run. He's never in nature, and he's wondering why he's depressed, why he feels like shit most of the time. Gentlemen, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to you just feeling good about yourself, you have to get out of the house. You can't stay indoors all of the time. It's very important for us to get sunlight, to be in nature. There's a bunch of big benefits that come from being outside. But if you do not prioritize this, you will eventually start feeling like garbage because we naturally need to have the rays of the sun hit our skin. We need to be in nature. We need to step outside without any shoes on and feel the earth. It's very important because we're so connected to the earth. We're so connected to nature, but we forget about that. You know, in we forget about that right now because we're so locked in with technology, man. We're always on our phones. We're always on YouTube. We're always just always buried on the phone on technology. So, gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about how nature boosts confidence, how it's very important to get sunlight and be out in the outdoors to just make us happy overall. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I want to mention that our newsletter is live. It's a work in progress, but they're getting better. Make sure to sign up for that so you can get daily insights on confidence. And also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at jmedinax7 so you can see the behind the scenes, everything that I'm doing right now here, traveling all over South America. Your boy is currently in Ecuador. Really enjoying the time here. I think Ecuador is a hidden gem, but you can kind of see like the behind the scenes here if you follow me. So let's go ahead and kick it off. All right, so there's a great quote that I like by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson has written a lot of great books. He He's a great philosopher, a lot of great content if you study his books, if you study his work. But he has a great quote where he says that you want to live in the sunshine, swim the sea, drink the wild air, by my boy Ralph Waldo Emerson. And man, this is a big part of my life, bro. Like, that's why I really enjoy traveling, why I enjoy being out in nature, because it allows me to get away from the noise. It allows me to really ground myself and just find that tranquility that I feel like I often need. And I used to be that scrub, man. I used to be that scrub that was always playing video games. I had all the Nintendo game consoles, bro. I had Super Nintendo, I had the first PlayStation, PlayStation 2, I had the PSP. And man, I would find myself like just locked in my room. Like all of my high school, a little bit of college, I was just in my room playing video games, beating off, man. And back in those days, I didn't really think about this as much. I just thought, like, I'm having fun. I'm getting that cheap source of dopamine that comes from playing video games. We talked about this with a video previously on this series on dopamine control, and I was just chasing these cheap forms of dopamine. And I think that when you're younger, it's very easy to fall into that trap of just chasing cheap dopamine because you don't know any better. You're lost. These big companies are always selling you shit. They're trying to sell you, the next video game. They're trying to get you on the next series on Netflix, and you start to revolve everything around that. So you don't have the time to go out, enjoy the fresh air, enjoy, just being out in the sunlight. And I think that, when I got to college, when I started working, I would catch myself getting stressed out a lot because I was, in my career, I started off as a tech consultant, and I was working with a lot of different clients. I had a lot of different projects going on, so I would get stressed out a lot. And I started reading a lot of books, and a lot of books that talked about this would really highlight how getting sunlight, vitamin D is important for your health, but it's also important for your well-being. And going for long walks was very beneficial for mental clarity, so you can solve problems. Because when I was working with my clients, like I was always trying to solve problems, so I would go for long walks, and then something like a nugget of wisdom would just hit me from my walk. So there's a great video here that I want to show you guys that really dissects the power of being in nature and getting sunlight.
Probably no surprise that nature is beneficial to our mental health. From hitting the beach to taking a long stroll through the park, multiple studies have shown that there's something about nature that helps us feel happier, more focused, or just generally better. But why that happens is trickier to figure out. From what psychologists can tell, though, it's not just about getting in some sunshine and vitamin D. Instead, it might have to do with our sense of belonging. The idea that nature is healing is not a new one, and exposure to natural environments has been an important part of mental health treatments for a long time. As early as the Middle Ages, monasteries for those with mental illnesses created so-called restorative gardens. And in the 1800s, people designing mental hospitals would try and make sure their buildings were surrounded by acres of natural land. So far, modern research really supports this idea too. Studies have shown that being exposed to nature, whether it's a wilderness preserve or a tree-lined city street, can improve well-being in a bunch of ways, both in those with and without clinical conditions. For example, a 2011 meta-analysis looked at studies involving a total of almost 850 participants, mostly students, and found that exercising in a natural environment resulted in higher feelings of revitalization than doing the same exercise indoors. And a study from 2012 found that walking through nature for 50 minutes provided a mood boost and other cognitive benefits for 20 participants with depression. There's also evidence to suggest that those with schizophrenia, ADHD, and a whole host of other illnesses experience similar benefits just from taking in a little scenery. So far, there are several factors that have been floated around as possible explanation.
So one thing right now that is hitting me right now is that, like, my mom, every now and then, my mom's she's a baby boomer, and she's like in her 60s, and I love my mom, bro, and she's always calling me, and she tells me that sometimes she feels anxious, she feels like depressed. And I tell her, Mom, like, are you going outside? Are you, like, getting some steps in? Are you just being outdoors? Because my mom has a tendency of just wanting to be indoors all the time. And I'm like, if you just start making like those small adjustments, I promise you're gonna feel better. And she has started doing that. And she calls me, she tells me that she's just feeling better just from being outside working on her garden. So it's powerful to get that sunlight.
For this. One is that nature allows us to recover from stress and attention fatigue. This is the idea that urban environments have too many things competing for our attention. Other studies suggest that nature offers exercise opportunities, facilitation of social interaction and development, and opportunities for personal development in general. But a lot of these factors haven't been investigated in rigorous depth. They also don't really explain the mechanism of how we gain psychological benefits just from existing in nature rather than running around in nature or chilling with friends in nature. In fact, most research on the subject seems to describe the mechanisms as elusive, which is psychologists speak for, we don't know. We're working on it. Still, that doesn't mean that we don't have a hypothesis or two. Some researchers argue that these positive effects, at least in part, come about because of an increased sense of connectedness to the natural world. One significant experiment about this was published in 2009 in Environment and Behavior, and it looked at the effect of exposure to nature on mood and problem solving. In this study, 76 students were asked to complete questionnaires on mood, along with the Connectedness with Nature Scale, or CNS, which measures pretty much what the name implies. It asks participants to rate how they feel about some vaguely hippie-ish stuff, like, right now, I'm feeling a sense of oneness with the natural world. Or, I'm feeling like the natural world is a community to which I belong. After rating 13 of those peace and love statements, the students were split into 2 groups and bundled onto buses for a field trip. They took a 20-minute drive to either a nature reserve or a downtown parking lot. Then they spent around 15 minutes silently walking, sitting, and taking in the scenery before filling out those questionnaires again. The results showed that the participants who went to the nature reserve reported significantly more of a mood boost from their trip. Their feelings of being connected with nature were also higher than those who took a stroll in a parking lot. Now, this in itself is not massively surprising. You can imagine it's probably hard to feel at one with the universe standing on a stretch of concrete. What was more interesting is that the CNS survey results seemed to mediate the effects of the environment. More specifically, when people reported that they felt like part of nature, their mood boost tended to be bigger. So it wasn't just about seeing nature, it was about feeling like they were part of it. The scientists behind this experiment argue that it's that sense of connectedness that causes all those positive benefits. And they cite something called the biophilia hypothesis as a possible mechanism for this. The hypothesis theorizes that since evolutionarily speaking, we're used to living in natural environments, we all have some innate urge to seek out nature. The researchers suggest that we need to see ourselves as part of it, belonging to the same group as the various plant and wildlife species we share our planet with. It can be hard to prove evolutionary hypotheses like this, especially when they're as abstract as this one, but the concept that we need to belong to groups to stay mentally healthy is one of the main principles of social psychology research. In fact, it's such an important concept that having a sense of belonging with other people is seen as a core human need in some models. Not having this sense of belonging can lead to things like lowered immune response and poorer sleep quality, and conveniently, those are exactly the kind of functions researchers have seen improve when we're exposed to natural environments. So it's not that huge of a stretch to think that maybe that need to feel like we belong extends beyond human interactions to seeing ourselves as part of the wider ecosystem of the planet. It's a plausible idea, and the results of this study certainly support it, but like with a lot of other big ideas, it would help to have more research to be sure. If nothing else, though, studies do suggest that time in nature is really good for you. So even if you don't totally know why, it's probably worth visiting your local park sometime. Your brain and your mood will thank you. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow Psych. If you enjoy hanging out in nature and want to learn more about it, you can check out one of our newest sister channels, Nature League. In it, SciShow Psych's very own Britt Garner.
So shout out to this channel here, SciShow Psych. They have a lot of great content. I noticed I wasn't subscribed. I just subscribed right now, but check them out. They have a lot of great content. But let me go ahead and show you this this tab here. So it makes sense, man. It makes sense that we're so connected to nature. Like I mentioned, back like nowadays, since we have all these devices, technology, social media, we're so analytical, we're so in our minds all the time, and we don't go out and enjoy nature because of that. And there's a great quote in the Bible from Genesis where I really like this quote because it really resonates to being a part of something bigger, being connected to nature. And in Genesis 3:19 says, "By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. If you are dust, and to dust, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return." So, man, we're dust at the end of the day, bro. Like we're all connected to the earth. We're connected to nature, and when we start to think that we're not, when it's something different, like it's outside of us, that's when we start running into problems. But when we look at it as something that's it's a part of us, that we are a part of it, you start to see yourself and how you fit into the entire universe. You start feeling better. So, this has always been a big thing for me in my life. Like I've always tried to be outside of nature, especially when I started understanding this a lot more. I lived in Mexico for a couple of years. I lived in Colombia. I've been in different parts of the world. And wherever I find myself, I always try to immerse myself in nature because of this, because I know how powerful it is to be connected to God, but also to relieve that stress, relieve that anxiety. And ultimately what ends up happening is that I just start feeling better about myself, and it increases my confidence. So let me go ahead and show you guys a couple videos that I made in the past. Where I was out here in nature. So right here I'm with my cousin.
Go to the very top. Let's get it.
Unlike these degenerate.
And I was and we were going for hikes, man. Like it would be like a regular thing every weekend. We would go for a hike.
Strength and power.
We're up there, you can see.
So right here we're in Cristo Rey. I've always also getting a nature out. That's why I really like doing calisthenics and body weight training outside, because I really like doing calisthenics because outside, especially because you get access to the sun, you're working out in nature, you just feel so much better. Couple workouts there, we keep going through a hike. We went to the very top. We're in Cristo Rey, Guanajuato, and this mountain has Jesus Christ at the very top. So it was a really good workout. But just being out there in nature, it feels good. If you go to my Instagram page, like you can see that I was always just trying to find nature, bro. Like I really like horseback riding. This is when I was in Mexico. We would go for horseback rides there in Guanajuato, and that was just very peaceful, man. Very fulfilling for me. Really enjoyed it. So let's jump back here to the whiteboard. So yeah, guys, like I always just try to make an effort to be outside, be in nature, get that sunlight, go to the ocean, go to the beach, that fresh air. It just enhances your happiness and enhances your mental health. You feel better, reduces stress, makes you more relaxed. And jumping into implementation, the sun, it increases your serotonin levels, it boosts your mood, makes you feel better. So you can do activities like going for hikes, going for walks, going to the beach, like we mentioned. It's going to improve your sleep quality. So you're going to sleep a lot better at night, improve your productivity, motivation, so you can keep conquering those goals. Water and earth, this would be like lakes. Depends on where you live, right? Because just depending on where you're at, you have access to different things. When I was in Colombia, when I was in Cartagena, I would go to the beach a lot. Also in Playa del Carmen, in Mexico, in Mazatlan. But right now, like, I'm in Quito, so here we have more mountains, and I really like mountains more. I think, I think for me, bro, like mountains are probably like living in the mountains is probably the best for me, because it's like the weather is better and it's just more like calm. And the beach, however, there's so many people and it's cool. Like every now and then, like, don't get me wrong, but you can be completely different. We're all different depending on what you like. You can really implement that into your lifestyle, right? If you want to be by the beach, if you want to go to the lake, you can do that. Fresh air, you can find this anywhere just by going for walks in nature. And one very important thing about doing this is that it's going to allow you to be in the present moment, being presently there, not thinking too much about the past, which causes depression, and not thinking too much about the future, which causes more anxiety. It's going to help you really be present. And this is powerful, bro. Like, this is what a lot of Buddhist and Hinduist concepts talk about, is the present moment, being present. This is where you just feel a lot better and you can really operate at your highest level. So tying it all back to confidence, just being in nature is going to make you feel tremendously present. It's going to make you feel a lot better. It's going to reduce those negative effects of stress and anxiety. And when you implement this, you'll notice that it's going to also affect your confidence. It's going to affect your well-being, because if you feel good, you're going to perform a lot better. So there you have it, gentlemen. This is the power of nature. This is the power of going out, getting that sunlight, working out outside, going for walks, going for hikes, going for swims. It's very important. It's going to make you just feel a lot better, and it's going to increase your confidence tenfold. So if you made this far into the video, I really appreciate it. Make sure to give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Make sure to get that sunlight, get that nature, and keep on conquering.